You know, when we look up at the night sky, we picture this pristine, endless frontier. But what if I told you that just above our atmosphere, we've created a massive, invisible junkyard? Today, we're going to talk about the hidden crisis of space debris.
So let's just jump right in with a question. What travels 10 times faster than a bullet? I mean, take a second. What could possibly be moving that fast?
Yep, a tiny little flake of paint. And no, that's not a trick question. It's the absolutely wild and dangerous reality of what's happening in Earth's orbit. See, up there, it's not about how big something is, it's all about speed. And that incredible velocity turns even the smallest piece of garbage into a weapon.
Okay, so just how big is this junkyard we're talking about? Well, for more than 60 years, basically since the space race began, every single launch has left something behind. We've been creating this silent orbiting landfill.
That number, 36,000, represents the pieces of space junk larger than 10 centimeters that we are actively tracking right now. But here's the crazy part. That's just the stuff big enough for us to see. Scientists figure there are millions, literally millions, of smaller pieces zipping around up there completely untracked. So what exactly is all this junk? Well, it's everything you can imagine. It's a mix of huge things like dead satellites the size of a bus and entire spent rocket stages, and then millions of tiny fragments from explosions and collisions. We're talking paint flakes, loose bolts, and yeah, believe it or not, even an astronaut's glove that got away. It's 60+ years of our orbital mess.
It's really easy to hear paint chip or bolt and just shrug it off, right? But in space, these little things are carrying an insane amount of destructive energy. Let's really look at what that means.
The physics here is just mind-blowing. Things in low Earth orbit are screaming along at about 27,000 kilometers per hour. At that speed, the kinetic energy packed into something the size of a marble is the same as an exploding grenade. Now just imagine that hitting a billion-dollar satellite, or the space station.
And this is why this isn't some far-off problem for scientists to worry about. This affects you directly. The satellites that give you GPS directions, that forecast hurricanes, that process banking transactions all over the world, they're all flying through this exact minefield. Every single essential service we rely on from space is at risk.
And this quote, this really brings home the human cost. It's from astronauts aboard the International Space Station. This is their daily reality. They've had to literally run for cover in their escape pods multiple times because some piece of junk, a shard from one of our past mistakes, was about to slam into their home.
But the threat, it actually gets even bigger than that. There's a true nightmare scenario that scientists have been warning us about for decades. It's basically a point of no return for our use of space.
It's called the Kessler syndrome. And the basic idea is this. If the junk up there gets too dense, just one single collision could set off a chain reaction that we can't stop. One crash makes thousands of new pieces of junk, which then cause more crashes, which make even more junk, and on it goes.
Let's just walk through how this catastrophic domino effect works. Okay, so it starts with one big collision. That instantly pollutes an entire orbital path with a new cloud of shrapnel. Then, that cloud becomes so dense that it starts causing more collisions, which in turn create even more debris until the entire orbit is just an unusable, lethal minefield. We'd basically be trapping ourselves on Earth, locked out of space for hundreds of years.
Okay, that's a terrifying thought. But the good news is, we aren't just sitting around and waiting for that to happen. There are some brilliant people out there racing to solve this, and honestly, some of the solutions are just incredible.
And the solutions sound like they're straight out of a sci-fi movie. I mean, we are talking about space harpoons and giant nets to snag rogue satellites. There are concepts for magnetic tugboats that could drag junk out of orbit. People are even working on powerful lasers on the ground that could gently nudge debris onto a new path where it'll burn up in the atmosphere. The technology is amazing, for sure, but it only solves half the problem. The other half is a much tougher question. Who's actually responsible for cleaning all this up? Who pays for it? And this is where we run into the accountability gap. The main laws we have for space were written way back in the 1960s, and they barely even mention debris. Because no single country owns space, nobody officially owns to trash. And now, with private companies launching thousands of new satellites in these mega constellations, the problem is getting worse, and it's getting worse fast. Without the whole world agreeing on a plan, the best tech in the universe won't matter.
So all of this brings us to a really critical moment, a crossroads. It's not just about space exploration anymore.
It's about our maturity as a spacefaring species. What we decide to do right now is going to define our entire future in the cosmos.
I think this comparison really puts it all into perspective. Space junk is basically the ocean plastic of our orbit, right? Both are these unwanted byproducts of progress that everyone kind of ignored until they became a massive crisis. With plastics in the ocean, we learned a really hard lesson about what happens when we're negligent. With space junk, we have a chance to prove we've actually learned from those mistakes here on Earth.
So, in the end, that's the ultimate question we're left with, isn't it? Is space going to be our highway to the stars, a pathway for humanity's greatest adventures? Or is it going to become a permanent graveyard of our own junk, a monument to our carelessness that locks us on this planet for good? Right now, that choice is still ours to make.